it's an honour to sit opposite you and pick your brains a little bit for the benefit of all of us here. So welcome to our fair shores. You first time in Sydney?
Yeah, first time. Thank you.
You approve of it?
Yes, I love it already. It's my second day, but it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is. That's for sure. It's nice. I guess you've been up all night watching Eurovision, have you?
Yeah, not watching Eurovision, but
it's can you explain Eurovision to us? It's bizarre, isn't it?
yeah, it's this phenomena in especially Scandinavia. We have a long kind of since ABBA, this band, they won. I think I don't know when it was, 70 something, but it's like a history. Eurovision is like the biggest. It's a song competition, which is just a weird thing in itself, but it's the biggest TV production in Sweden. You know, the whole Eurovision thing.
Yeah.
And Sweden won last night.
Sweden won.
Won.
I wasn't aware of that. That's fantastic.
So it's the first time, they won I think 10 years ago. But so people were celebrating. It's a very big. It's like winning the World Cup
in music.
Yeah.
So that means next year's event will be held in Sweden.
Yes.
Apparently, the Spanish government, they're so broke. They said to the Spanish contestant not to try too hard because they couldn't afford to stage it. But listen, we digress. Sweden is synonymous with pop music. I guess that's largely fueled by ABBA's success way back then. Tell us a little bit about the scene there, because it is a real hotbed of creativity, isn't it?
Yes, I mean it started obviously a long time ago. I think already back in the 60s there was a lot of American jazz musicians that came and they were touring in Europe and they stayed in Stockholm and married Swedish women and had children, and so there's a lot of influence from that whole American jazz scene, and including Quincy Jones spent a lot of time there, and so it's always been a very rich music life, and there is kind of a. We also had a free music school, so when you're 10 years old, everybody gets an instrument for free.
Oh.
And you can start play or sing, do everything. It's government funded. So, and that's like the natural thing to do. Everyone, when you're 10 years old, you choose an instrument. And then you just start playing or singing. And it's a great way to introduce young people to music. And
so it's kind of compulsory at school? It's just the way it happens?
Yeah, it's just the way it is. Everybody starts playing something. And you play together. It's a lot of working together mentality.
When did you realize that you were good at this stuff?
I think in school. I went to a music school, but it was a normal school with just a lot of singing and a lot of music. And then I played the double bass, so in jazz bands and classical orchestra, and I was singing. And then I started writing some songs, and the girls in my class, I had them sing it. Like a few girls tried to sing the song, and then I was like, oh, she sounds great on this one. So, and the other one could sing this song. So it started like I was maybe 8th, 9th grade. I don't know what's that, 14, 15.
Yeah. So, gee whiz, so everyone in Sweden's kind of in a band one way or another.
I think everyone has like either been in a choir or in a band, or it's like a way of living there. And obviously for me to start writing songs, or I had a man called Dennis Pop who he started that whole songwriting thing, or the whole movement of actually producing and writing for other artists. So he was a big inspiration for us who were teenagers.
What was your first taste of success? When did you first think, gee, I can make a living out of this?
I think I was 16 or something, and I did a bunch of tracks on my little keyboard at home, and I had these songs, and it was this publisher from the Netherlands that called my parents' house and was like, I need to have these tracks. And so he flew me down to the Netherlands and picked me up in this Porsche, and I was driving around with him. But I felt like, wow, I made it, you know. But he bought the tracks for like, I don't know, 1,000 euros. So he completely ripped me off. But I felt like I made it.
So what you signed everything away to him?
Yeah. So you learn all these things.
So how did he hear your songs in the first place?
It was actually through one of Dennis Pop's partners at the time that I went to all their music studios from I was maybe 16, 17. I went and played my stuff. I was like, listen to this, because I thought my tracks were sounding better than theirs. So very confident at the time.
Yeah, no, you got to be confident. What sort of music? What sort of style in those days?
I think I was very influenced by the American kind of hip hop R&B music. So I played basketball through my whole life, and we were just listening to that kind of music. So this is back in it must be 92, 93. So it was a lot of R. Kelly, Boyz II Men, TLC. That kind of inspired me. So it was those kind of tracks, I think.
What was the first hit?
For me, I think that was, internationally it was with a boy band at the time. There was a lot of boy bands around, but I did a song for this band called 98 Degrees. It was called Because of You. But this is, I think that was the first kind of international one.
And suddenly you have a big hit like that, and I guess everybody wants a piece of your gold, do they? Is it like that? When you've got a big hit, you're the new kid on the block?
Well, I think in Stockholm at the time, there were two production camps. It was us and called Merlin, and then we had Shayne, who were doing obviously a lot of the big pop acts at the time as well, Britney, NSYNC, Backstreet, and so we were all kind of two families, but everyone knows each other, and we were very locked in. Like we didn't
friendly.
We didn't even know if a song was on the charts. We just got like a little, like a paper in the studio, like, oh, congrats, this song is on there, and we just looked and kept working on the next one. So nobody, because we're so far away from everything, so nobody really cared. I think it was just, we were just doing songs, and I think that was a good thing. I think.
Was it like a modern day version of the old Brill building in New York City, where Carole King and all them just used to crank them out? Was it a bit like that? You go to work at 9 or 10 in the morning and sit down and just bang them out?
A couple of years there was a little bit like almost like a factory feeling, because you almost knew that every song that you would sit down and do would, when albums sold 20 million albums, you kind of knew that this song is gonna, you just knew it was just going out like this.
Bang, here's one.
Yeah.
Sort of. Artists that you're talking about, the writing and producing with, 4 artists like, I guess, Britney Spears and J-Lo, artists who aren't your traditional singer-songwriters, who are, their people are out there looking for the hits.
Yeah.
And they I guess they're scouring the planet all the time, aren't they? Looking for the right songs.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that time, I think in Sweden we had a lot of kind of a sound and a kind of songs that was attracting a lot of artists at the time, and I hope we still do at some point.
Yeah, I guess various production teams are in vogue at different times. There's a sound of the moment, and then I guess that can change, can't it? How difficult is it to predict the trends and be, to keep current and keep relevant and keep turning out hits?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely, it's very important. And I think in Sweden there was so many music studios. I think in the early, maybe 10 years ago, 2002, there was a music studio in every corner. Everybody was writing songs. Everybody wanted to be a part of that. But I think 80 or 90% of those studios have shut down. And people are not doing it. But the funny thing, I think, we are still the kind of group of 10 people. We're still doing it today, but that started doing it. So it kind of went into a big boom and then back to the kind of core again.
If you had to sum up what makes a hit song, what is it that separates? I know it's a bit like how long's a piece of string, but sorry, that probably didn't make any sense to you. What makes a hit song? I was listening to Torn, you know, Natalie Imbruglia's version of Torn, driving in here, and it's like, wow, it's like the perfect pop song.
Yeah.
Not that it's all about pop, but to you, what makes a hit song?
Well, to me, I guess there are a few different ways to look at it. I mean, I worked with Max Martin for 5 years, and it was funny. He has his formula of going, never use more than 3 melodic parts in the song. If it's more than 3 melodic parts, the song is not good, which means you have to fix it with, so 3 parts.
So verse, chorus, bridge sort of
yeah,
thing.
and recycle parts of the verse or part of the song in the chorus. So when the chorus comes, you already heard the chorus, but it's in the beginning of the verse. That's actually Dennis Pop's formula that Max Martin took, and we all went like, you need to minimize the information for the listener. But that's the mathematical way. But then you have what I think is a hit song. To me, is when the lyric and melody just falls into place in a combination that just hits the listener. And I mean, it's like that go-to song right now that I think has that, when the melody it feels like the melody is written with the words. And it's just those magical moments that we all try to achieve.
And obviously the performance has to be magic as well.
Performance has to tell the story in the same way. So it's like those elements, when they align, that's when you have a hit song. And it's a very difficult thing to achieve.
Well, it's when magic happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think creating music is the most wonderful thing, is that, you know, to actually create something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And have something that's shared and enjoyed by the whole world is just the greatest gift, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's an amazing job to have.
So when you work with people like, you work with Enrique Iglesias, Jessica Simpson, Vanessa Hudgens, Leona Lewis, J-Lo, Britney Spears. I mean, you write the song, you produce a demo, I guess, at your place. Their publisher submits it to these people and their managers and A&R people, and do you then fly to them to produce it, or do you just send the tracks over? How does that process work?
Yeah, usually it's like that, but a lot of them really enjoy Stockholm and Sweden, so they use every opportunity to go there.
Yeah.
So we've been lucky with that having a lot of artists coming to Sweden and enjoying it. And especially Britney and Enrique has been there. He goes there many times every year. He likes the nightlife in Stockholm.
Of course.
The Swedish women.
Of course.
So, it's not hard to convince them to come to Stockholm.
No, especially if your surname's Iglesias, I would think. So they come into town, they've heard the song, they love the song, they've obviously got some of their ideas. How much of it is a co-write? You know, do they change a couple of lines or a word here? I mean, what's the sort of rule of thumb?
Well, with those, Enrique actually is a really good writer. He writes most of his stuff. His whole first album he wrote on his own with another Paul Barry and some British producer. But he co-writes a lot, and then the other ones they're not Britney or J-Lo. They just go in and cut the song, and it's like
Stock Aitken Waterman style,
yeah.
sort of.
And it's I actually enjoy interacting with the artist and creatively.
Yeah.
So I think it's when the artist is also involved in the writing. If it's a good artist that knows how to write, I think it's more rewarding when you get something out of that.
But if Britney records a song that's yours 100%, that's good too.
That is very good, yes.
Yeah. It's obviously enormously lucrative if you get it right. Do you think about the... that sounds a bit crass. I was going to say, do you think of the finances as you're writing the song? But I mean, do you... You're obviously, to a certain extent, writing for a formula. Do you write for... Do you know Britney's looking for a song? You know, right now the One Direction boys are looking for songs. Do you...
Yeah.
Are you pitching a song to them, for example?
I mean, yes. Obviously, there are some projects that you know that are very...
Hot.
Yeah, hot at the moment. But I think... And they're in Stockholm right now, where they've been now recording with some friends and that did the first album with them, that obviously having huge success, which is great fun. But I've always been a little bit more... I like to do work with... I'm not only chasing the big projects. I like to do things that actually inspire me as well. And so I don't know. I'm not maybe one of those who think about, oh, this would make a lot of money if I get a song on that. I'd rather try to do something that I enjoy. And sometimes you don't end up on the biggest selling records, but I'm still doing it after 15 years, and I enjoy it. And
Mate, you're doing pretty well. This list here is... Tell me about working with Janet Jackson.
Yeah, that was, I think, the biggest experience in my life, I would say. She was... it was not her biggest... The Damita Joe album, it was not... It was kind of supposed to be her comeback album, but Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, and Janet Jackson was my big inspiration as a producers. So my dream was to one day go and work with them, or at least be where they are. And then back in 2002 or something, I was lucky to... I met her in London, and I played her a few tracks, and she loved one of them. And I got to spend 2 months with her in New York in a studio, and her brother Michael came by, and I got to meet him, and she was cooking food in the studio every day, and just this incredible person. And Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis were there, and it was just, I felt like I was done. It was like I could just die now. So,
You're a happy record producer.
It was. I think the biggest moment for me. It was not very good for my motivation, because I was done. I didn't care what happened after that.
What year was that? What sort of era was that? Do you remember?
This must be 10 years ago. Yeah, it was.
So you didn't have a Sling Michael a song or two?
No, I was. He just came into the lounge a couple of times and had her pie. She makes a specific pie that he loved, so he just came there to have her pie, and then he left. So I think it's a shepherd's pie or something.
How did you find him? Oh, was it a savory pie or a sweet pie?
It was some kind of sweet
pie.
Yeah, it was like a
cherry pie.
Yeah, no, it was like a sweet potato. It's like a southern thing, like that she made really well. So she said that I just need to tell him that I have the pie, and then he
he'll
shows
be right
up.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, should have got that recipe. Damn it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. We saw some fresh old vision of Michael Jackson the other day. I mean, was he as good as it gets?
Yeah, he was. I mean, I just met him briefly, and kind of he was just incredible. That whole family to me was just incredible personalities, like the kind of love they have and as persons. It's just I understand how they became so successful, and it's great people.
For young songwriters here, even old songwriters, I mean, what you do seems like the dream job for those of us, those that love writing music. and you obviously have it so together in your neck of the woods, and you're not alone there. Australia, we've got some wonderfully successful people here, but what do we need to do more of to make our own industry here as popular, I guess, or as desirable to international singer-songwriters or international artists? Is it the job of our publishing companies to get more access to the bigger names? I don't know. You tell me. How do we replicate in Sydney what you have in Stockholm?
Yeah, I think it's, in one way it feels like it's like a mentality thing. I mean, we're raised with, obviously, since we had someone, Dennis Pop for me, who kind of did it. He went to his studio every day and did songs for big international artists. So it became something like natural. You can do it. So it's like, and we're raised with, Australia, there's some great artists there. It's like a lot of gifted, talented people from here. That's our view. But we think there are no songwriters or producers. But I know there are, there is. But I think it's this kind of way of thinking that I can do this because they did it or something. And
well, I guess you had ABBA to sort of go bang, we can.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we've had AC/DC, ABBA, AC/DC, but it takes those kind of acts to show that we can do it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you need someone, and obviously we had them around the corner. Stockholm is a small city, so you knew the studio. They're sitting there and they're doing hit songs all over the world. So it became something you believe in, and then you just go, I'm going to do the same thing. And obviously we had a kind of a window to access a lot of those projects because through Sweden. But in one way, I'm hoping that to see a local, like an Australian artist that blows up here, and I think that's also the way to break as a songwriter, to do something locally that blows up and hopefully travels to other places, and then you start writing and producing for other artists around the world. But in Sweden, we don't have a big tradition of artists, but we always felt there's been a lot of Australian artists coming to Sweden and working with us there. So we always admired the talent that's here in Australia.
That's interesting because we have lots of artists. We've got lots more people too, but I mean, you don't have so many artists come out of Sweden, but lots of songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's our tradition of, we work very, very well in teams, in groups. We're not raised to kind of shine on our own. You're not supposed to think that you're better than anyone else. That's a Swedish thing. So,
we're a pretty competitive bunch down here.
yeah.
So it's very collaborative.
Yeah.
Which is great, isn't it?
Well, it works in that, for a lot of things. I mean, to kind of breed artists, it's not a very good formula. I mean, we have Robin, a few of them that are really, individuals that want to be stars, but it's not our kind of natural mentality, no.
We've obviously got a new big one now, the winner of the Eurovision Song Contest. Who's the artist who won?
Loreen.
Loreen.
Yeah. She's very talented, yes.
So she's got some big footsteps to follow, hasn't she?
Well, she could, but unfortunately, the Eurovision, that song contest is kind of, it's not considered as a very credible
a bit
thing.
Cheesy.
A bit cheesy, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know.
But but I hope she actually goes beyond that, because I think it's been a lot of people doing that, and then you do nothing after that.
Do you like the contests that are going? I mean, we've got this show, The Voice, which is huge here in Australia. Do you know The Voice, the singing competition?
Yes.
Like The Voice of Holland, it was. Yeah. Do you think these Idol, X Factor, sort of semi-reality competition shows are good for the business?
Well, followed it a few years now, and I mean, it is, in one way, I mean, it makes music more, it puts music in people's lives more. Yes. So to me, that is a good thing. And now I'm vocal coaching in the Swedish X Factor this season. It. So, and yeah, so I have to say I love it. But no, I enjoy it because some of those shows where X Factor is something I enjoy. So, because the idea is to you don't have to be the perfect. You don't have to be that kind of model. You know, you can actually just be a great artist, or you know, and that's what I like. That's what I accepted. That I've been asked to join a lot of those things, but I've never. I don't like the idea of competing in music or competing.
But helping's good.
Yeah.
You're off to Bali with this the songwriting camp. That must be kind of cool. Working with different writers and getting the chance to collaborate. Do you find yourself learning as much as you're giving sometimes?
Yes, a lot. I've started doing those things. We're actually, it's Peter here organizing it. So it's just the last maybe 4 or 5 years I started going to these things and writing with different people every day. And to me, I learn a lot from that because we've been very much in our own world, writing with the same people and not even looking at other writers. So to me, it's very inspiring to do that, and Bali is an amazing environment to get inspired in.
There's nothing bad about Bali. The business is always changing, but the fundamental thing about the music industry is the song, isn't it? I mean, fads can come and go, and you know, different styles of music can come, but it's always about the song, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, always.
What's the one piece of advice you'd give to our friends here today about them, their lives, their career, in terms of, I don't know, finding the truth about what they do and having success on whatever level they're after it? Is there any words of wisdom that you could sort of share over and above to distill your experience over the years?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, what I see now a lot when I start looking around and see people work, and there is a work ethic in Sweden that we have, that I see, that I go to the studio every day, and it doesn't matter if you're not doing a song, but there's a discipline and a kind of a determination that I'm gonna do it, and you go that extra mile on every song. When it's good, you make sure it turns out great. So you spend that extra time and a lot of discipline and a lot of focus on what you're doing. Because I see a lot of kind of writing a song. It's okay. It's almost done. It's almost there. Like it's a lot of that kind of thing, which I think it's a pity, because if you do that extra thing to kind of make it great, because it could take an extra week, but instead of writing 3 more songs,
finish
that and do it great. And I think it's just a work ethic thing, and that I've been lucky with learning from other guys that are like that. And so I'm seeing a lot of that today with people writing a song a day, and you know, but not putting that extra. So that's my advice, I think.
Wow, that's great. Just work hard.
Yeah.
Is there ever a time with a song? There must be. When you've spent half a day on it and it's Jesus, gone. Or do you always try and bring it to some form of completion?
No, absolutely. I mean, we throw away ideas all the time, and even songs. If it's not good, it's not worth finishing. But if it's a great idea somewhere, you know, you try to grab that, and then maybe you pick it up the next week and try to do something else around it. But that's also a thing. You have to kind of I'm obviously attached to songs and music, but you have to also allow yourself to just let it go and let's beat this, make something better, and not hold on to things too much, because it's music, it's songs, it's not. So definitely that's the thing, to allow yourself to just let it go, and you're going to do something better after that idea or that song. So.
Is songwriting getting harder? I mean, there are only 12 notes on the piano. I remember sitting down with Lionel Richie once, and he's going, and talking about similarities and differences in songs. There's probably only a finite number of combinations of those different notes. Does it get harder? It's probably a really stupid question, but does it get harder to write songs? So many have already been written that and you don't want to nick things necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know. No, I think we never, it feels like there's an endless kind of ocean of combinations to be done. And we did a lot of, you can get in, I mean, songs from the 80s today, there are people that never heard them. Yeah. And there are so many great things. And we did that a lot in Sweden, especially back 10 years ago. We listened to a lot of old songs, and then you go, oh, that's a great little hook, and then you tweak the melody, and so we definitely do that. Yeah.
Just reference a little bit.
Reference, yeah.
And change it enough to make
change it enough, yeah. But absolutely, I mean, it's a way of getting inspired.
Yeah. Or, of course, I guess you can sample it and work it into the song. Do you do that sometimes as well?
I've never done that. No, I don't sample, but but you definitely listen to music, and I listen to a lot of 80s music to kind of get inspired in melodical ideas. It's usually melodies, because that's where the big melodies were to me.
The big power pop
songs,
yeah. I'm going to throw it over for a Q&A shortly, but do you have a favorite style, a favorite artist? Do you, when you're in your own downtime, when you're sitting at home? Oh, I thought of one other question too, but I'll come to that. Do you have a favorite style of music? What really turns you on?
Yes, I'm right now I go through phases, so I can listen to JC and hip hop for 1 year, but right now I'm in my kind of rock year, so I'm listening to pop. I'm into the Killers right now, from Vegas. So he's my favorite singer right now. I think he's the best singer in the world, and I just listen to them every day.
I love that Human song.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those songs that when it finishes, you want it to start again.
Yeah.
When you were talking about going to work in the mornings, I thought that was interesting, because there must be a temptation to have your studio in the spare room in the house or something, or next door to the house. Do you think it's? I've heard other people talk about this as well.
Yeah.
That it's important to leave your house and go to work.
It's a classical mistake. I think everyone who's done that, especially in Sweden, everybody started building studios in their homes, and you stop. Then all the songs, all the hits stop coming. So it's the worst thing, because I did it, and I threw it out after a year or two, because it's you have to kind of, I think it's good for your just your well-being to kind of wake up
and go to work.
Go to work, have your coffee, and go to your workplace, and also to be able to have a life, another life that makes you actually. Because that's the life that inspires you to actually work. So if you take that away, you have nothing. So.
You need to go to work to pay for the life.
Yeah.
Hey, you're a fascinating fellow, and can I call for a round of applause at this early stage, please?
Oh, thanks.
Some questions, please. Yes, ma'am.
It was, I think I've never had to write. I've canceled a few writing sessions or just walked out because you couldn't get the song to where you wanted it, and the artist is fighting the process, and you're feeling like this is not, so you just walk out of the room. But in one way, the hardest, I did a song called Impossible for Chantel a couple of years ago, and I wrote that with Ina, my co-writer, and we did it in 45 minutes. And that's the hardest song, actually, because we were just singing and playing it in real time. It was like written in real time. And that was actually the hardest, because I thought to myself, this can't be right. This has to be wrong, because this is not the way it should be done. But that was a very confusing day for me, because everything I've been used to was turned around, and it was done, yeah. And
wow.
So I think that was the hardest day.
It was good hard, though.
Good hard, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. It's crucial, and today more than ever, there's no room for imagination, unfortunately. So you try to get it as good as it can, and as close as it can. And I mix and master the demos before sending them out. It's like it just needs to sound the way it, even better than the final result will be. It has to sound. That's how I find it.
So when Brittany gets that song, she can imagine her voice just completely duplicating the...
Yeah. And if they listen to it in the car or in a club or at their house, it needs to just sound the way it's going to sound.
Product, yeah. Yes. Yes.
Thanks very much for the session. I just had a question in terms of access to recording artists. Do you think that's available to anyone, or only established songwriters like yourself? Will established artists listen to all these things even if they don't know where it's coming from?
Yes, I think so. As we said, it's all about the song. I mean, I've been in meetings, or if I go, you do the kind of rounds. If you go to New York or LA or London and meet record labels and managers, and you play your new material, and just a lot of the times I hear them play like, oh, I heard this song. I don't know who the writer is, just this amazing song. I hear it all the time, and it can be from Australian writer, German, Japanese. I think it's very song focused today, and I think it's not as important where the song is from or who's the writer, and so that is a very good thing right now. That it used to be much more focused on who wrote this, who did this, but now it's more about the songs. So I love that when I hear new songs from someone that, oh, I don't know who this writer, he's somewhere from somewhere, and but they love the song. So.
It's obviously harder for our friend here to get his song in front of Leona Lewis than yourself. But I guess that then is up to the power of the song and the hard work of the publishing company, I guess, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the publisher is I think a key person, especially in the early stages of your writing career. I mean, they can put you in a lot of situations where you can have your songs shine through. So the publisher can be a great person to make that happen.
Yes, sir.
Sorry?
So Just for those who couldn't hear, it was a twofold question, and the question is, do you always write the same way, i.e. music/lyrics first, sort of, and do you write with a specific artist in mind?
Yeah. I've never been able to create with an artist in mind. That's where I get blocked. So I like to just do something, and then if it happens to end up for... sometimes I think about an artist because I know that it will end up completely different. So I use that artist to think about what to do. But I think I've never really done something thinking about that artist and pitched it toward that artist, and it made it on that artist. Never. I think it never happened really. But then I have my ways of thinking to, if I know I have to do something for this artist, I know what to think about. So I think about something completely different, and so you kind of manipulate your own, and the process is always different. Sometimes it could be a lyrical concept that you just get excited about, and you kind of start hearing the music that's going to go with that. And sometimes there's a beat that you start working around, but usually I start with a musical pattern, just like a 4-bar musical thing, and that triggers an idea. So that's usually how I work.
And you work off keyboards yourself, and the rhythm patterns you create yourself, and when you need musos, you call them in, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Did you all hear the question? Okay, sorry.
There's microphones in the middle here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there are mics there. The question is, gentlemen, as a singer-songwriter, is there a conflict basically between being a singer-songwriter writing for yourself and potentially writing for others? Is that the question? Yes.
I think it could be, yes, in one way. To me, it's because I'm actually going through the same thing right now. I have a project, like a duo with my co-writer, and we're doing a project together that's a little bit like an Everything But the Girl kind of thing. And I love doing it, but I feel like it takes a little bit focus from either you're doing this or you're doing that. And I think it could be a difficult thing to combine, and it's also about what songs, you have to step outside and look what songs are working for myself, this project, or for this, and but I'm sure it can also in other ways it could be a great thing to if you're doing your own solo thing and you're doing it really well. I mean, it could also open up a lot of opportunities to have people look at your music and go, wow, I want to work with this person, or I want this kind of song. And so it's also a very good thing. But I think songwriting-wise, at least for me, it's been a little bit distracting and difficult.
Yes, in the middle there.
How long does it take you from initial idea to finally produce a master?
I think sometimes it's, I would say in effective time, you mean like studio time? Or how many hours, yeah. It takes me usually a week, Monday to Friday. That's kind of one song. A lot of people work much faster, but I think in our way, I have a way of doing it, and it kind of just works. So sometimes the writing is for 5 days, but you end up on the last day, it's done. You worked up the track and the production, everything around it. So, and the vocals is there. So it goes hand in hand, but I would say 5 days is usually, Monday to Friday is like a normal to finish up.
So to really craft something, you could either work 60 hours without a problem to get a really good result.
Absolutely, and to also leave what you're doing overnight, and that is crucial. I think you've saved a lot of songs by coming back a few days later and fixed something that wasn't obvious, but then suddenly becomes the most obvious thing, and suddenly you have a song. And so to me, it's that's why I was saying about this session when we wrote this thing in 45 minutes. It wasn't the normal procedure. So
do you? That's your mindset. You work on a song a week is sort of the rule of thumb.
I think yes. I try to do that, but the production sometimes can be much harder to get right, and sometimes you try different ways to go, and you try things to just make sure you're doing the right thing. So
you've obviousobviously decided early on in the piece that this is a song that's worth pursuing.
Yes. Yeah, you have to kind of make that decision. Commit to it. Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've got time for a couple more questions. Up the top there. Yes.
This is not really a songwriting question, but there's a service called Spotify that's just launched in Australia, and I know it's very popular in Sweden. I just wondered what you think the impact of that was in Sweden for local acts in terms of getting wider exposure.
It has been fantastic for the local artists. It's given them a lot of exposure, and there are artists that are not even released that are having Spotify hits in Sweden, and they're now touring the whole summer because of that, without anything. So for the artists, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's a brilliant thing. I'm obviously a big enemy because it's. I think a friend of mine, Red One, who does, I think he got $600 for Just Dance. I don't know how many millions of plays, but obviously but it's great exposure for the artists, and when it benefits the artists, I like it. So, and it makes them, especially the local artists, it's a great thing, and they get to, if they're good, that's the place where they're gonna have success.
The lady in the blue up the back.
Thanks. You talked about spending the extra time to make a good song great, and maybe that's those last couple of days of the week or the last 24 hours. How do you approach that? How do you go, this is a good song, but I want to make it great? Do you look at lyrics, or do you look at song structure? What are the things that you look for when you want to take it that extra mile to make it great?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think since our tradition in Sweden, we work a lot in kind of groups where we can be. It's a lot based around a feel, like you kind of feel something is wrong, or something is not perfect, or it's not right, but you don't know what it is yet. So a lot of us, we go by each other's studios, have breakfast, and then we play this thing, and you go, I don't know what's wrong with this, and then the other person goes, oh, this is great, but this is how it should be. And then you go back, and then the next day someone comes by with their song, and you kind of bounce back and forth with. That's why I think a lot working together with people is the key to everything. It's to me, to sit alone and think you're going to have the answers to everything, it's impossible. But then there are people who can do that, and which is fantastic. But I think we like to work together and make to get help to see those obvious solutions that you don't see. But I think it's more a feel. Obviously, it's a lyric for us, because English is our second language. It's usually a lyrical thing that you want to improve something in the lyric, because the melodies come naturally for us, but it's most of the time a lyrical thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One final question from anybody? Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot of publishers out there, and each of them represent different artists, with different
Yeah.
I guess the question for those who couldn't hear it was, do you have a manager / agent who in the song world as well as a publisher sort of thing?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I can do a lot of that work on my own, since a lot of people appreciate, like on record labels and management, and they appreciate when their writer, when I contact them directly, personally, and if I'm excited about a song, they know that, okay, he's sending this and calling personally because I'm excited. But I do have people, absolutely, that work in certain places and go, okay, they're looking for a song, this project is open. So it is more important even today, obviously, to have someone who kind of, fights out there and opens the doors. It's more important than ever. I mean, we were fortunate at the time to build a story or have a connection with a lot of people in the industry a long time ago. And many of them are still around or still doing the same thing. So, but if I was starting out today, I would definitely want to have someone who was fighting for my songs.
And they fought very well too, and congratulations on all your success, Arnthor. It's been a fascinating hour sitting here. It's been a privilege to sit next to you and talk to you, and I'm sure you share with me, ladies and gentlemen, an appreciation of this great man's valuable time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.